Have you ever wondered how to be a man of action? Do you have to have a gun? Do you have to pull out a gun and shoot people? Or do you have to just beat people up just to be able to whack them upside the head? Or do you have to talk really cool and say things like, I have a special set of skills? I think all of us have wanted to be the action hero of life. But actually, being a man of action has nothing to do with those. We're going to find out what it takes today. So let's jump in. As a kid, I remember one of the coolest movie titles in the world, Action Jackson. Now, it's a movie I actually never really saw, but Carl Weathers was in it, and he's the guy from Mandalorian, if you've seen it today, who gives the jobs to Mando. And I always thought it was such a cool name, Action Jackson. It just kind of fit. My name just doesn't do that. Action David. It just doesn't ring that bell. It doesn't make you go, ooh, there's a man of action. Now, as men, we all want to be men of action. We really do. And oftentimes we confuse that with what we see in the movies. And we don't really know what that looks like. So a lot of guys try to imitate the movies, thinking, well, that's what being a man of action is. And movies make it look like we have to be able to kill people to be men of action, jump off airplanes to be men of action, or do things like that. But that's not really what a man of action does. It's not what a man of action is. In reality, being a man of action is very different in your life. So we're going to learn a few tips to help you be a real man of action. The first tip is to understand that action isn't adrenaline. You see, in our everyday life, action isn't the stuff that drives the adrenaline in your veins. And a lot of men are looking for that adrenaline boost in their life. They say, well, this makes me feel like a man. If I do this or that, it's going to show me that I'm a man. And they think that like doing crazy sports or action things are going to make them be a man, or chasing women all the time. And there's a lot of guys who think that gaming is what makes them an action man. They think, well, if I win this game or I reach this level. But the deal is that's not real life. That's only pretend life. And too many men are looking outside of themselves for a sense of action. They're looking for that outside validation of who they are instead of looking on their inside. They need to look within and understand that action comes from within, not from without. The second thing to understand, that action is a choice. You see, if action takes place inside of us, it's something we choose. We choose, and that choice makes all the difference. You see, a man of action is a man who chooses to engage life. He chooses to participate and push life and live it and drive it instead of letting life drive him. You see, it's a different kind of life. A lot of men have settled. They've said, I'm just going to settle. But when you settle as a man, you kind of die a slow death of boredom. It's not what you want to do. There's something inside of you that craves to drive your own life. But a lot of guys just match that craving to binge watching Netflix. And the approach you want to take a man is to drive. It doesn't mean you push and are a boss to everybody and are angry, but you're a man who engages with life, a man who engages with his family. If you engage with your wife and your children, you enjoy life a whole lot more, rather than a man who just provides for them. A lot of guys have this mentality of their family, the ball and chain mentality, I call it. Well, I got the old ball and chain, talking about their wife, their kids, and they feel like, oh, my family is taking away all my fun. When really, if they chose to live their life and be passionate about their family, they would be amazed at how much more passionate they would be about life in general. So action is a choice. The third thing is understanding that action is fighting passiveness. You see, comfort is something we all like. As men, we all like to be comfortable. We all want to do something that's easy. And that passive side kind of pulls us away, kind of like men in their chairs. We all have our recliners or the comfy chair. We love it. Some guys have man caves, and those are great things. I'm not saying those are bad, but if we aren't careful, those things can push us to stay passive. We just want to go escape to our chair. We want to go escape to a keyboard and a computer screen, and we don't want to actually live life. And so what happens is those things become your purpose. It's kind of like your yard. You know, making your yard look good takes a lot of work. It takes upkeep. And you're like that as a man. You take work and upkeep, and you have to do it. That's what being a man of action is. You don't go passive and let everybody else tell you what to do. You learn how to drive your life. You learn how to push ahead to be a better man. I want to help you be a man of action. That's why I created davidthemaxwell.com. There are all kinds of resources there to help you grow as a man. So go check it out if you got a chance. And I believe it's going to help you become that man of action. Now, I worked with teenagers for 30 years. And I learned something powerful about them. To a teenager, the best dads were kind of the regular, what we would call boring, faithful dads. You see, they didn't have to worry about, is my dad going to stay with us? Is my dad going to run off with someone else? They didn't have a dad who had extreme highs and lows. They had a dad who showed up every day in their life. A dad who cared, a dad who pushed his relationship onto his children. He wasn't ugly to them, but he wanted to be in a relationship with them. He showed up every day in their life, and they loved him for it. That's what a man of action does. And that kind of man of action changes the world.